review of, and I think it's going to change my tact because a lot of my book reviewing has been, I think, just like really directly review a book.
Yeah.
And I think I might, actually no, I'll call myself back. I thought we'll do a book review and keep it as a very short, sharp, what the book review is. But my learnings, I think, will change to doing it a little bit more how he does, which is a little bit more expansive, more connections to other books that have been read, talked about maxims. But it was like really joyful. I was like, this was a really joyful book review to listen to without necessarily like discussing the book that much in general. I think he probably spent like 15 minutes on the Tiger Woods one, largely just talking about and comparing his notes between the Mozart's biography and Tiger Woods' biography, and like the comparisons between the family dynamic, and then just talking about the family dynamic in general.
Yeah.
Also, though, you could tell is like it's a good 5 hours of research, I guess, behind just reading the book, like on external stuff. But just not well done. I was like, well, shit, I did not actually think that this is what it was.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a check out.
They're all like an hour long.
It's on YouTube, I guess.
I don't know. I listened to that one just on like a podcast platform. So, but I would bet dollars that it would definitely be on. Are you looking for it now? Or I'll find it.
Yeah.
Off the bat, it's wow. So it is on YouTube, and has 12,000 subscribers. Not very many views on the videos, which makes me think. I wonder if it's even videos. In any case, I got my shipment coming to me from the from Sebastian.
Oh yeah, I didn't look at the emails.
Yeah, only saw him this morning.
There's no start. Just testing here.
Do you want to run this one, or do you want me to run it?
I'll run it. Yeah. Yes, good.
Good. How's the
in the
light
chat.
coming? If you're listening to me on YouTube right now on the live or on the podcasting platforms, thoughts on the lights? Do we need to open this up a little bit more? Does the light come through nicely?
I think it looks good.
I was playing around with the idea. I was talking about just with Jazz, moving the podcast into that other room and just leaving that as pure podcast room. But I like the space. Kind of like the space, to be honest. And I'm like,
It would be a bit cramped in there.
Yeah. It's good. Okay, sounds good. You know the Adobe Audition, like AI voice cleanup website or functionality? I normally do that post-edit, but I don't know if that's now available to do while you're actually using Audition. Like what you're like actually recording. I don't know. I haven't actually seen.
Oh, no, I don't use it.
Yeah, is it? I find it's been nice to just get it clean quick.
Yeah, mine doesn't take too long. I've got my workflow, so I know what I'm doing.
I mean, that Audition is just fucking upload the audio, set it to 20% or 50% depending on what I'm doing, and that's it.
Honestly, it's probably doing the same thing that I have. It's just
Probably,
I've got
yeah.
all my filters in place already. So. Anything else?
How's the game with the ladies going?
That's right. Gonna put a bit more effort in to going out, I think, and doing a bit more cold approaches.
Mm.
Gym, that's okay.
Mm.
C'est bien. I guess that means bien. Looks good. Alright, we'll kick it off early.
Let's do it.
Right on the dot.
Right on the dot. Oh!
Welcome, Mere Mortalites, to another episode of the Mere Mortals Meanderings this time, because it's going to be a little bit of a looser episode.
Okay, we'll call it Meanderings.
Yeah, we're live here at 9 a.m. on the 24th of November, Sunday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, as
Correct.
usual. You've got Kyron here on this side.
You have one over here.
And I picked today's topic, and yeah, like I said, it's going to be a bit of a loose one.
Correct.
And it was related to one or two things we talked about last week. One, Bitcoin price is going up. He's afraid no one's going to boost into us. And is that the reason why? I don't think that's the reason why, but we'll talk more about that.
Do we have any people who have boosted?
We did.
One, I think. One.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I also want to talk about V4V. So just value for value in general, because you were also not concerned. Maybe concerned about that. So some strategy we need to talk about.
I'm going to retract that statement slightly.
Okay.
And I will improve my definition of both value for value and podcasting 2.0.
Sure.
I've done a little bit of homework. I want to just retract and get it right.
Sure.
Should we start with that?
And then the only other thing was related to podcasting 2.0 and even just podcasting in general about video. So
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Now, let me just start with this because I want to see if this is super correct or not correct, but at least for people at home. We've talked about this quite a few times, but two distinctions to make here in some of the things and the concepts. Value for value as a concept, value, number 4, and then value, or however you want to write it, doesn't necessitate the use of cryptocurrency, doesn't even necessitate the use of a podcast platform itself. So it, by definition, a funding model where creators provide content to the audience for free and ask for voluntary contributions in return based on the value the audience feels they received.
Where'd
And that can be
you
time,
get that from?
talent, or treasure.
That was valueforvalue.info.
That's valueforvalue.info. Now, that's just a summary of value for value.
Yep.
And again, time, talent, and treasure. And the treasure can be a form of fiat. It can be, that's US dollars, Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, Colombian pesos, cryptocurrency,
No
dog,
Agenda.
Hosky.
Yeah, in No Agenda, I think they say some of the largest donations they get through checks in the US.
That's actually an interesting term, I think. I wonder, taxation office, if you say these are donations to me, does that financially change?
We're a charity now.
Interpretation?
Where the Mere Mortals are a charity.
This is not for profit. You're sending us donations. So anyway, so I just wanted to define that for value. So I think I've misconstrued it sometimes. Be very specifically. It's around, is the content free versus paywall? Is it, it's an audience contributions, and it is, and we haven't actually talked about this that often. It's fundamentally trust-based. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you the clear example. I have a product coming from a company that sent across, hey, Mere Mortals, we like what you're doing. We'd like for us to sponsor you and do a few things. And we basically go, no, we're not going to do that. I really appreciate it because one part of it is you need to Mere Mortalize. You need to trust what we are saying, that it comes very much from us. Now, in the end, this particular company is sending me the product anyways as I don't know if it's a goodwill or just, look, I'm willing to send it out to you, try it out. If you want to create something with it or give us honest reviews, feel free to do so. I'm telling you, Mere Mortals, I go, okay, look, I'll try it. I'll do a review on it. It seems like maybe it'd be of interest to people, maybe it'd be interest to this company. But again, it's a very it's directed by us as opposed to directed by other entities or even the audience to an extent.
And all the time, you gave Chris Williamson a Mere Mortal shirt.
Correct.
There was two.
Him and James.
There was no obligation on your part. It's not like you're like, I'll give this to you if... It's like, no, here you go. And the similar thing when people boost in or send in notes and stuff. It's like, they could just do an advertisement if they wanted to. And people do sometimes. And like, if they send us money, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll read out your thing, whatever.
Yeah, well, we've done that before. We've done that before in some boostergrams where in the actual boost and the wording, they do say...
Yeah, they talk about other things. Yeah.
Fine.
But it's always on us. Like if it's like a 10-minute long ad read, I'm not going to read it, I'll look at it and be like, I'll maybe talk about it and then go, okay, no.
Correct. Correct.
So yeah, it is trust-based.
Yeah. Now, the other aspect, podcasting 2.0, which is more what I guess intended in some of the conversations I've had in the past. Definition of that, podcasting 2.0, open initiative to enhance the open podcasting ecosystem with modern features and decentralized principles. seeks to give creators more control, improve listener experiences, and integrate new technology standards. Now, enhanced RSS.
No one understood that
Value
one.
for value integration.
Not only did you talk too fast, but it uses a lot of work.
Well,
Open source.
more features. So more features than you see in your standard.
Correct.
And you have the ability to integrate with a value for value payment, here being the Lightning Network, the layer 2 of Bitcoin, to be able to transact with each other. That's basically, in essence, the podcasting 2.0 aspect. There are other qualities around it, but I guess for the intended conversation right now, what I said the other week around, what happens with the price of Bitcoin / Satoshis goes up or down, what then occurs based on the transactions that go from value to value movement, I guess, that you would utilize it with.
Yeah.
So those are the two. I just wanted to make it super clear. I think I misconstrued it in the past.
Sure. No, good definitions there. So I wanted to start this with probably just maybe some like theoretical type things right at the start, and then we'll get into some practical things that how it might change us as podcasters and things like that. So to start off, my proudest intellectual work ever, I would say, like the best idea I've ever had is when I equated value for value, podcasting 2.0 and Bitcoin. And so this was like a year, maybe 2 years ago, I can't even remember now, where I created like a little presentation slide. I presented one of this at the Bitcoin meetup that I go to, just as like a 30-minute presentation. It formed almost the whole core of season 3 of the season 3 of the Value for Value podcast, which is still online if you wanted to check it out. And basically it was like, okay, these three have all these properties in common. Permissionless, you can have self-sovereignty. It is decentralized, and then value transfer within them. And like intellectually, like if I was going to write a book or something, this is the one. This is the thing. Like it's probably like what I wouldn't get renowned for, but it's what I would like to get renowned for. Okay. However, I think all of these can get somewhat distorted. We already talked about that a little bit. So I wanted to go over a couple of like things which, one, you already mentioned there. V4V is Bitcoin. So V4V is not Bitcoin. One of the things you were asking about last week is Bitcoin price goes up, people don't want to spend. It's actually kind of the opposite because, once again, I'm going to say no agenda a lot here because this is Adam Curry's show. He's founder of V4V, founder of podcasting, founder of BTC. No. And he's a pioneer and he does it really well. What he says is when they actually get less donations in is typically when people are getting less rich. And so around tax time in the US or economic downturns is when they see less donations coming into the show, less support. But when people get windfalls, such as get some BTC perhaps going up in price, or some stocks going up in price, or just the general market as it is right now, everything's hitting all-time highs basically, then that's when they actually see more support coming in. I think the same argument is if you're getting a lot more I can see the argument of saying like, okay, people see that Bitcoin is more valuable and is more likely to go up. It's not like they're sending in Apple shares to No Agenda because they think Apple's going to rise, or Nvidia perhaps is even more pertinent recently, or Master, MSTR. So I could kind of see that argument, but I think the overriding, like, I'm wealthier now, I can dish out a bit more money is more the overriding principle. So yeah, if people are getting wealthier, I don't think it necessarily means they're not going to contribute, or they might just contribute more fiat.
Yeah.
In another way.
So yeah, I guess the opposing thought I have on that is, one, that example, is it the general or is it the fractional few that do become like very wealthy and then have the ample ability to give? I kind of have a thought that you already have to be willing to participate in the system and give, so that when you have more of it, you then give more. But in general, I think in general, Mere Mortal is, I would hazard a guess, to keep as opposed to give if the price of it goes up, whatever that inherent price is. The value of it is the same. So the value itself is the same. It's the price that we interact with in the world that differs and I think can change. Here's an example. If you bought, and this might be interesting because you might not see it this way, but I would bet that this would be a general consensus of the way that people would see it. If you bought a bottle of wine for $50 2 years ago, you're like, I'm keeping it for like a nice occasion, whatever, $50. You're going to have your friends over and whatnot, but then maybe the week prior, this winery estate gets renowned for whatever. All of a sudden, this bottle of wine is now $50,000. Now, your friends come over. Do you crack open the $50,000 bottle of wine, the now priced at $50,000 bottle of wine, or do you go, actually, I've got another bottle that I just bought. I'm going to use that one. I'm willing to bet that you're probably going to go, you know what? I'm going to get the $50 bottle.
Let's be a bit more reasonable and say it goes to 500.
Okay, let's go. Let's say, okay, say it goes to 500. It's not going to be a 0% amount of individuals that will still go and open the bottle and go, you know what, whatever, like I'm saving it for this. It's worth more. I'm a little bit in the balance because I guess at least for me, I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't resell a bottle of wine. I guess I'd just reuse it. Maybe you'd feel the same way too. And I think there'd be a lot of other people. But I think for a large majority, if it went up that value, your thoughts on, well, the bottle of wine is still a bottle of wine. It holds the same inherent value, but the prices differed. You would want to map that back to maybe an occasion or using it where the price kind of matches. That's maybe where I'm getting to with Bitcoin, where it's the individuals who, it's not the individuals who are now become extremely wealthy. So I'm thinking people who are already wealthy and the utilization of Bitcoin or Satoshi is to them pretty fluid, pretty easy to do. One, it goes up, doubles up, triples up. Okay, I could see them doing more because there's just more of it, fine. I'm thinking though of the majority where it's, they have a fractional amount of Bitcoin, some Satoshis there, and it does go up, kind of like the wine bottle equation or analogy. I have more of a feeling that there'd be less of a wanting to send the same amount. Perhaps maybe you'd still participate, but send a much more fractional amount that you'd done prior, purely for the inherent reason that, oh no, this is now worth a price that's more. Part of me goes, and this is, I think, the thing that I was saying, the fault of Bitcoin itself, I think in the usage like that, is that if it was more stable, I think people would see that more as a form of using it to pay for something and transact with it. I think there'd be more of a connection to the inherent value, which is self-sovereign. It's being able to go peer-to-peer. It's all of these things. But when the fluctuation then becomes, well, price goes high, it's double and triple. In general conversations, no one's talking about that. Yeah, everyone's talking about, and you see it in the market, you see it in the news. A lot of the conversation is, but fuck, is big. I've listened to a couple of podcasts in the last couple of days, and it's like, but Bitcoin, $100 trillion market cap, and that means the price of the coin is going to be this, and the price of this is going to be that. And there's always a conversation of price, which then incentivizes me to think, okay, well, what's going to make a general person then, if the price is all the conversation is, why would you be sending that, as opposed to the separate conversation of, but there's inherent value to Bitcoin that's really good, that is separated from the price, which is why I kind of view it as in the real long term, like really, really long term, when price is kind of not part of the equation, because let's just say Bitcoin is all there is, then that changes, because you don't map Bitcoin to, that's cost $12,000 US. Well, what if that isn't the mapping? It's just,
you just price it in Bitcoin.
722,000 Satoshis is 722,000 Satoshis.
Yeah.
That changes the picture of that transaction. That's why I think, because if it right now in this world right now, I'd go, I think the podcasting 2.0 space would be bettered if we used a tethered coin. Yeah.
So I'll do the human psychology bit first, and then I'll get onto the. Okay. So the first one, I think you mentioned it. It was, and neither of us are psychologists, but we've read I don't know. I feel like everyone can kind of be a psychologist. You get to play around with your own mind, and then you can try and expand this out to humanity. I think you said something like it exacerbates what's already there, or something like that, which is, I mean, what 90. What are the general stats? I think it's like 3% of people contribute monetarily to a value for value show. That's like maybe you'll get to 10%. But even that's probably stretching it. So you're already at like only a tiny portion of your audience is actually going to contribute. There's no way everyone's...
Yeah,
not even a majority. Yeah, not even a majority. You won't even get close to that. Those people who are already willing to give will probably give more. If they're a hoarder and are only extracting from your show and only just want the info and don't ever want to contribute back, they're probably, and they've got some Bitcoin, they're only going to hoard that even more. Like that's so you're definitely going to have like the extreme end and then the other end, and the ultimate question at the end of the day is, are you getting enough value back from your audience, having provided it first up, that you can continue, whether that be in the monetary sense. We don't have that big costs, but there are shows which probably have bigger costs and are trying to do value for value, or if you just get side benefits of fame or recognition or whatever else that you're seeking on the side. When Chris Fisher, so he had a show called Plan B and a podcast called Plan B in, I think it was 2013, and this was probably the first Bitcoin podcast. And it's still up online places. If you go search Plan B podcast, I think you'll be able to find that. Jupiter Broadcasting or Chris Fisher, type that in. And one of the things he was saying was back in those times in 2013, there was a real push to spend your Bitcoin. You got to use it. And so he used to have tons, like tens, if not hundreds, but he was spending them because that was the kind of thing you do. You spend it over here, you send it to this guy, you buy some pizzas for 10,000, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's only in the last, 10 years maybe, where it's become more like, oh, this is the store of value. You want to keep it as much as you can because it's going to be more valuable in the future. And I've gone to a couple of Bitcoin meetups where wild claims have gone out like, these are going to be more like, it's going to propagate across the universe, aliens, there's nothing more scarce than this. And I'm just like, if you could trade stars, they're going to be more valuable than fucking Bitcoin. Like, let's be real, Anyway, that was the type of mentality, like hodl at all costs. Do not
let go.
Do not let go. I think, like you said, it's just this transition zone where it's so volatile that, let's see in like 2 decades time, if it's only moving by 5%, I mean, shit, USD fiat currencies are volatile in that sense. They move 5% every year on average, or 4%. I don't use the official inflation numbers of 2%. I think they're a bit dodgy. Nevertheless, that still moves a lot. It just doesn't feel like it.
Correct.
And it's only, when you go to a barbecue like last night and Jazz told me, orange juice cost $8 or something. It's like, what?
Correct.
So these things change, and Bitcoin just needs to get slightly less volatile.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of get behind is, what is the downside of a quick moving asset? Is that the asset then fundamentally from a human psychology is then you associate price more than you do the value of what makes it important. Case in point, what I don't see at all in conversations around and got brought up in the Raoul Paul and Stephen Bartlett convo was Bitcoin in itself, the fundamental thing around it is the blockchain. And the fact that it solved the Byzantine problem what the technology of blockchain does and does not. And some of those thought processes, like, man, nobody talks about that anymore, really, unless you were there for the value, you were there for the ideology of Bitcoin, you were there for the understanding of how it works. With more of the inflection of prices, no one gives a hoot because the overarching thing you care about is a price. Just as much as, if, again, just as a comparison, if my car tomorrow was worth 100 times what it is, I'm probably going to drive it differently. I'm probably going to think about it differently. I'm going to be annoyed if we crash it.
Oh, yeah.
It changes. It's the same thing, Let's go fundamental from the, particles. Nothing changes, but it is your foundational understanding of what the price of it is that changes the behavior. And I think that to me, look, and I see it, you say for for some podcasts out there, they do still get quite a bit of funds coming through from podcasting 2.0 perspective. I see now that honestly, we could probably get more support coming through a fiat way than we would the podcasting 2.0 cryptocurrency model, just because there's going to be a large percentage of people who are going to keep that as opposed to send it. Does that mean that people will completely stop sending altogether? No, I think that there's still going to be a few, the few that always do. But as you mentioned, the few that always do will continue to support because they inherently do find the value of it there. Everyone else though, fuck man, it's going to be even. How do you onboard now someone into Fountain and be like, hey, you know that Bitcoin that you had and got from 1,000 to 3,000? I want you to send all of your profit away now.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, send it all. They're going to be like, no, because I'm waiting for it to get to. I'm hearing it's going to get to $1 million, which means I'm going to have 25,000. I'm not sending. I need to wait for that $25,000. You bet your dollar people are not going to be sending that shit.
And I've seen this in myself since it's risen 5x, more than that, 6x when I was using it when it was like down at its lows.
Yeah, it was like 22,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah, my average boost amount has gone from a row of ducks, 2,222, and I now do rows of sticks, 1,100.
Why?
Partly because I measure it based on how much we get coming in, and so if I see the Fountain wallet going down too quick, I'm like, all right, well, I gotta put on the brakes. Otherwise, I'm gonna be myself putting in $1,000 a year into this, whereas I'd rather try and just keep it circular in that sense. Side note, like topic for next week, maybe psychology of investing or something like that. Okay. Because we're getting into a hype stage, so we should do that. I think that'd be good.
That'll be a good one.
My vision as well, they don't talk about it on Podcasting 2.0 because they always try and use the most, they like Bitcoin because it's the most decentralized currency out there, cryptocurrency. And they like that. They don't like centralization. And we'll talk about Alby probably in the after section and why centralization is not so good at times. But I know there's one guy, Alex Gates, who's working on somehow doing Monero and being able to do the same thing, micro payments and transactions. I envision the future like you kind of do as well, where it's something that you're just used to, whatever your currency is, wherever you are in the world, just your official one, perhaps. And when you're just using your wallet or you using your app, I should say, your podcasting app, probably is going to still be doing it through that to send a value for value payment. You just see it in that number, and then whatever it uses in the back end, it could be like a DEX aggregator. You know how they go to all these different decentralized exchanges to find the best price, and they give that to you. Could be the same thing. It'll be like, okay, I want to send money from $5 Australian from myself to Podcasting 2.0 or to Cole McCormick America Plus, and it just finds like the cheapest route to do that, whether it be the Lightning Network, whether it be through Solana, whether it be whatever, and then just converts it on his back end. So there's still a lot to go for that. Wallets are not at the stage where you can just have one overall wallet. No, there's Bitcoin wallets, there's Ethereum wallets, there's Solana wallets, but it's got to come, man. It's got to come where there's a point where you can just do it all within one wallet, even though wallet's not probably the best term for it still, because this is all just actually it's probably fine. 5 years ago, using the term wallet to describe accessing your Bitcoin wasn't great, because it's you're using a passphrase, a pass key to access something that is on a ledger. So it's never in your physical wallet, like on your phone. So people get confused and be like, "Oh no, I lost my phone." But that's the word now. But yeah, it's kind of getting to that stage. So the only other one I wanted to talk about theoretically was podcasting and video. And this was another misconception. Podcasting needs video. There's been a push for this for probably 4 or 5 years maybe now, where it's you need to have it. And what made podcasting really popular, once again, going back to Adam Curry, because he talks about the kind of history of podcasting. In the 2000s, it was actually more exciting than YouTube was, because YouTube was just getting started, and so podcasting was like, oh my God, there's some hype around this thing, like you get this great content, you're never going to find anywhere else, this sort of thing. And then there was this push from people, and he noticed it because he had a company called, what was it? I know the name, what he changed the name to, which was Mevio. It was named something else before that, Pod something or whatever. But then all the VCs backing him or advertisers or something like that were like, no, like it's got to be more video focused, things like this. So they changed the name to Mevio and basically like increased all of their costs of business without getting any extra additional revenue. And so if you're starting off with a podcast or something, like you don't have to have video. It's very useful for social media stuff, but if you've got good enough content, and once again, like I still see a lot regularly. Last night I was listening to a YouTube channel, a guy I really like. He covers the Hunter x Hunter manga, and he was like, oh well, and that manga deals with some like serious topics. It's got death, it's got murder, it's got suicide, it's got torture, it's got rape, all these sorts of things in it. And he has to be very careful with his words, and he calls it out sometimes where he's like, I can't use this word or I'm going to get demonetized, or this one will be restricted to 18 plus, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, you're always on a little bit of a tightrope if you're doing the video, because that is very centralized. It's YouTube. Maybe one day it won't be, but at the moment it is.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I guess, I'd say currently, or a lot of the video-based platforms are will censor things depending on what they see fit as being. One though that isn't would be X. Like X, you can put up long form videos.
Oh yeah,
you can go for your life. You can pull whatever you want. So I guess no, it's starting to change probably in some aspects.
We'll see.
I would also say personally, do you need video in podcasts in general? No. However, I've actually started to find myself watching podcasts a lot more with videos.
Are you doing it on Spotify? Because they're doing a bit of a push, right?
The one that I've been doing mostly with, and I kind of like flux between a few of the podcasts that I watch, and I'll listen to a few of one particular and then go to the other. So at the moment, it's the Diary of a CEO. He's put all the videos up on Spotify, and I found myself, one of the beauties I do like about Spotify and that it does this is I do like its fluidity between being able to watch it on video and then listen to just the audio as I go on. YouTube does this as well if you've got a paid version of YouTube. But it does this really well in connecting with multimodal views. So the Spotify is able to do it really easily as well, connecting to my car of display versus, a few other places, which I'm like, and my watch, stuff like that, like really, really easily. So the experience is good. I like that. But even just before, I was going to listen to a Jocko Willink podcast, and I was going to listen to it on Spotify, and I went, I want to watch the video of this because I was going for a run on the treadmill. So I was like, I'm going to go jump on YouTube and actually watch this as opposed to listening to it on this other platform. So some of my trends have started to move towards watching the actual content versus just listening to it. But I still like the ability to listen to it in times when I just can't watch, when I'm driving or I'm going for an outdoor run or I'm at the gym. So I'll listen to podcasts. So I still want something that I can listen to it with the caveat that I can jump in quickly and watch the video of it. So it's starting to form a little bit more of the way that I consume my content, definitely, in terms of watching it, not just getting the audio format of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually, I was going to say just one more thing. I don't know if this is the case for a lot of the stuff that you listen to or consume, but a lot of the things that I've been consuming lately, I've noticed there's been example, Tim Ferriss a couple of years ago, when he would do a podcast and he'd be interviewing with people, he would be like, they'd be talking about something and go, oh, for the listeners who can't see this, we're talking about this and we're doing that. That's like stopped now.
People don't
doesn't do that anymore. Yeah. There's no more like, oh, if you can't see, it's just Stephen Bartlett wants a cruise, like massive example, the first 30 or 45 seconds of the podcast is this huge like montage of videos and things happening. They don't change that for the audio. They've done it. And in the video, you can see the countdown on what's happening. They show like through the actual, before the whole show, they'll show like, oh yeah, we're holding this up and we're talking to a coin and we're doing the wallet. They don't say shit if you're listening to the audio on it. So you do start to lose some of the context, and people are stopping to kind of help out the audio only people who are listening to it.
It's interesting because I've noticed that similar thing, yet I believe that audio will still get more downloads and listens. So
yes,
that you're kind of being treated like a second-class citizen in your own kind of country. When you're the majority, it's kind of
like you're the
DEI
masses.
has made it into podcasting. People, the audio bulk are getting shunned in favor of the small minority of
correct.
Of,
for the ones who have and the ones who don't.
We're going to start saying like if you refer to something in the video format, and you're an audio guy and you refer to a videoer and you call them like video or something, that would be like calling someone a coon or something. It's like, oh, you can't do that. You can't say that, mate.
Should we jump into the Boostgrams?
Let's do it, man.
Actually, one interesting question I was going to have was, have you had any expectations of any value for value Boostgrams ever coming through? Sorry, and this is actually an interesting one. We create podcasts largely for them to be eternal. Although not all of them are going to be eternal. Some of them are going to be in the moment. One of the things that I've wanted to see or would have been excited to see was with a lot of the value for value shows that you created, I would very much say those are, you could listen to them today and still be as relevant. It has just the foundational concepts. But one thing that I've seen, at least in the podcasting 2.0 space, is there's no more streaming or I don't know about streaming, but specifically boosts that are coming through on those particular episodes.
So you mean the actual value for value?
Correct.
Podcast,
Do you think it's because it's just a relevancy thing, or it's because actually people are just not, and this is again, people question for everyone at home as well. When I started listening to podcasts back in like 2014, 2015, I went back to all the way episode 1 and episode 2 of some of these people. Tim Ferriss, I listened to from episode 1 all the way through to really like go through it. I would not do that at all anymore, nor with my stream of things that are coming through. I sometimes just don't go back unless they're really special podcasts that I really like to listen to all the episodes that I care about. I kind of get a little bit of feeling of, I don't know if we'll ever see some of the older episodes really get re-listened to unless they're very, very, very non-timeline based, like some of the book review stuff that we do.
Yeah. It's that was certainly one thing I thought would happen more when I was first learning about all of this, because it was like, oh, you can
monetize all your previous content.
Yeah. And but I mean the same thing applies on YouTube. In fact, it probably works better there because old videos still do really well, and that's why you see like shit stuff from published in 2011.
Our Hoop Snake video, that's like
it still goes.
Continuously gets watched so much.
I was talking about that last night actually. So I'm not sure. I look at my brother for certain examples because he's 6 years younger, and so it's like, okay, what's he doing? He'll watch live streams of people, and he will prefer to watch them live if possible. But if he really likes the person, he will go back and watch live streams from years ago.
Really?
So
wow.
So
okay.
That's one where I'm like, okay, yeah, I think if you just really, maybe people just don't really enjoy us. Maybe they hate my voice. Who knows?
Maybe.
There's certain, I think this gets onto like creating really, people gravitate to where the really great content is, wherever the platform is. And so if you make it just really, really good, they'll go. I'm not sure ours is that really
look,
good.
And I'll give you an example. So we talked about this off air beforehand. The podcast Founders. I actually don't know how popular it is because just seeing how many on YouTube it has, not many. But that one is one that I go, you could listen to that at any point. In fact, I literally scrolled down the page, very, very far down the page just to find the Tiger Woods one. I just started listening to that one and I went, fuck yeah, this is really good. And it's not an in the moment thing. I think maybe we fall a little bit into the kind of falls under the timeline version. We have episode numbers to hours. Same with like a Joe Rogan or some other style. I'm not sure. Anyways, Bootstrap Lounge, we get to call out the individuals who've been supporting the podcast. We've got one that's come through in the last week. We've got Cole McCormick. Thank you very much, Cole. And that's row of sticks, 1,111 sats sent using fountain. So here we go. I'm starting to see things starting to go down into the sticks as opposed to the row of ducks or the 333s. And Cole says, Lex Friedman sucks.
Cole also really does not like Chris Williamson.
He blocked me on Twitter, and now hearing his deep work bullshit makes me so happy and barred from seeing his life advice for a productive, lonely life.
So to be clear, this was a guy
This is a guy talking about Lex, as opposed to Lex saying it.
Yeah.
Your focus in life should be to love your family, yourself, and be healthy. You two are on it. Now, I'm going to disagree with Cole here.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree with this here, Cole. And the way I'm going to disagree is, I think Cole's calling out there Lex sucks because he doesn't value or love, or it seems like he doesn't love the family, yourself, and be healthy. I'll disagree with that. I would say I don't think you could actually call out whether Lex actually does it or not. You can only judge it on the things that are posted and what we know of. Maybe he does really care about family, himself, those sort of things as opposed to anything else. Maybe he doesn't. So I think one thing that we have to be careful about is how much did you interpret from the social media that you consume of someone? You don't really know. Joe Rogan talks about this, and a few other like big ones in the past have talked about it, where someone will come up to him and say like, "Oh man," they'll talk to him like he's a friend because they know him, they've listened to him. Joe's like, one, I don't know who the motherfucker is, but two, like it's a very small part of his life. And yeah, when you're yourself, that's what you're going to be like in person when you meet people. But generally, there's a lot of other things that you don't get to see around life, and so you're not seeing some of the things. But then two, you also can't get if someone's out there and be like, fuck love, fuck family, I'm here to make some money and I'm going to do whatever,
work hard,
but they get like real joy out of that, and that's their passion. Fuck it, do it. That's fine. So I would push back on Cole there and go, does he suck? I mean, if he's living to what he's doing, fuck it, awesome, right? The other one would be just be careful of how much you believe some of the things that you see on the socials versus probably what the reality of it is.
I want to know what Cole got blocked for.
I got blocked by what's his name? Not Jack Paul. What's the other Paul brother? Logan Paul. I got blocked by Logan Paul on Twitter. Do you know why? No. Because what's the guy that does the scams videos? What's his name? Famous guy that does really well edited videos.
He scams people?
No. He like does videos of like, this is how this person did this scam, and
it's CoffeeZilla.
CoffeeZilla. So CoffeeZilla did a video on Logan Paul, and it was about the NFTs for zoo animals or something like that. And I remember watching it, and CoffeeZilla even said, if you comment this particular thing on a Logan Paul, he will block you. Like it will be a almost immediate block. And I was like, I've got to test this out. And I literally went on Twitter and I was like, found a post from Logan Paul, and I said, I think it was something really short. It was like,
when would the people get reimbursed?
It was like, where did all the money, or where did this go from your Zootopia NFTs? Yeah. And then, sure enough, 30 seconds later, bam, blocked. And to this day, still blocked.
Does it tell you if someone blocks you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've been blocked.
In the past on Twitter, on X, if you were blocked, you could not see anything. Whereas I think they've slightly updated it so that you can see what they post, but you cannot interact with it at all. So it's something, and it's like limited amount of what you can see.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah. All right. You two hooligans out here getting blocked left, right, and center.
Correct. But anyways, Cole, appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support, man.
Yeah.
Really much appreciate it.
Cole from America Plus. He did an interview with the founder of Indie Hub, which is kind of trying to do V4V, but with video and movies in particular. So a lot more like a video streaming platform. And I'm halfway through that at the moment. It's pretty good. Cole's a good interviewer. He does good ones. Good. Yeah. All right, let's jump into some actionable advice or things going on, things that we need
Alby. Let's talk about Alby.
Change. Yeah. So the Alby apocalypse is what it was.
What's going on next? I don't even know.
So basically, for those who don't know, Alby was a Lightning wallet provider who gave you the liquidity, easy onboard, easy-ish onboarding access to, this is mostly on the user side, but on podcaster side as well, onboarding access to it, i.e. you could put in a credit card detail and get some Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, which you could then send off, stream to your favorite podcasters, aka the Mere Mortals. They also have integrated with a whole bunch of podcasting apps. So in particular, Podcast Guru, Podverse, Cast-O-Matic. I think they were with TrueFans, but not anymore. So I think Sam's doing his own thing. So there's multiple different apps where they were the kind of back end. They were doing all the hard stuff. This happens all the time. Why was the App Store so popular? It's because it just let you be a dev, and then Apple or Google would handle all the money processing and shit behind the scenes. And so you wouldn't have to deal with that. Same sort of concept here. So they, over the years, have integrated more and more into the podcasting. And Adam this whole time was like, guys, just so you know, like this could go away one day. Like we're becoming very centralized here. We've got to watch out for this. And I remember hearing this. I'm like, it'll be all right, Adam. Like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And then over the last probably 6 months to 9 months, so I'm not sure. They're German based, I believe, because I've chatted with Moritz and I forgot the other name guy. They're German, Moritz, pretty German name. But I believe if you're operating in the US or anything like that, you fall under US law. And just the restrictions, all these things, they needed money license transmitters because they were sending money back and forth, or they were holding money for other people in these wallets, which they could technically have access to. And so this just they were putting themselves in legal trouble potentially. And so over the past 6 to 9 months, year, they've had to stay like, we're putting limits on this account in terms of how much you can use. You can only do this many daily transactions. And then we got an email recently saying like, we're going to close down the free Alby service that we're using, that we are using as well as podcasters, because we can put our own details in. And this is then obviously going to also affect all of the podcasting apps. So in terms of effects, it's not going to affect us that much. We've got a pretty easy solution. We already have multiple different splits with Fountain and Satoshi Stream. I can just make those the splits and we'll just, easy peasy, done for us. It's more on the listener side where it's like, oh shit, there's now 3 apps which I can't use to be able to integrate and send these sorts of things. And the whole point of this is to have, an ecosystem of apps being able to, plug and play. I want to use this app. I want to use this way to transmit or send value through it. And it's not like that at the moment. You can still do it through Fountain. You can still do it through TrueFans. But obviously now that has limited the scope of being able to do this.
It's interesting that they're doing that. Poses a challenge to, again, onboarding, getting people to actually participate in the system.
Yeah, so some solutions that they're looking at is, have you heard of Strike before?
Strike?
Yeah. So Jack Mallers, have you heard of him before? Okay, so he's the CEO of it. He's a real kind of Bitcoin guy. And he's set up Strike. It's almost like in competition with Western Union. So the money transmitter being able to do remittances and things like that. And they use Lightning on the back end. I think they also use some stable coins now as well. And they've got an API where you could do a very similar thing to what Alby's doing, probably even in a better manner. Okay. Then it gets into like the real technical details, difference between key send and LND. Like this is like diving into the web of the actual protocols and things like this. I don't know. That's the sort of thing where in like, maybe in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, it'll be like, I'll have an update and something like that. So in terms of changes for us, just in terms of how we do things and how most of the people who send in Boost, they do it through Fountain. So no change there. We can do a quick and easy change for to replace our splits. So no real change there. It's more just, it's kind of like, it's discouraging. It's like, fuck. We had all these like apps that were working. The system was going fine. And now it's like, okay, we gotta do it.
When are you gonna move out all your?
Oh, probably soonish, I guess. Yeah, I haven't really thought of it. You have until January 6th, I believe, until it.
If you're an Alby user.
And I should clarify as well. With Alby, there is we could keep it all, and there's a paid option,
correct,
which is it's like 10k sats a month for the first 3 months, and then 20 something. We don't earn enough coming in to really justify that. And I've had an option since forever. There was a guy at the Bitcoin meetup group who I think he also for like 20k sats a month would operate a Lightning node for us, and then I could essentially do all of these things without the hassle of me having to deal with liquidity and all the technical buying of stuff. Which I looked at once. We all remember this for a while. It was in my monthly goals for a long time. Never happened. I'm really glad I didn't do it.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't actually. I'm glad you didn't.
So it's just one of those ones where it's like, it's more about the general direction trend. Is the core principle behind this, solid, i.e. using RSS to be able to send value back and forth? Yes, I think, and not only that, but also content, i.e. podcasts. Yes, I think that's still a thing, and just a little bit of a setback in terms of being able to use it really nicely and easily. So that was one thing. Dave and Adam are doing, so we don't really need to do much from that. Easy change.
Cool.
Dave and Adam are working on this thing, their super secret project. And it's actually one of the things that I've had on, I've wanted to do for a long time. And it's basically like, they call it a specific hyperlocal app centered around a live show. And so imagine a podcast app where you're really downloading it just to access the Mere Mortals live. Because we go live 2 times a week at the moment. I'd want to do more in the future. I'll talk more about that shortly. And you use the app because it's particularly centered around us. As the kind of creators of the show, we already recommend a couple of other shows in our pod roll. And basically the app could kind of auto-populate. So if you're a podcaster, or a podcast listener, you download the app, you're like, I really want to access, let's just say, Diary of a CEO. And then you can kind of get all of the branching shows which he would recommend. So it's sort of like a tailored app for that audience, i.e. being hyper-local in the sense that it's what we recommend to other people. There'd be a chat in there, so like a continuous chat, IRC type deal. And it's kind of like no agenda. Their whole system that they've got set up, which is they've got a continuous live stream, which plays the value for value show on it actually every now and then. It's a live stream which has live podcasts on there pretty regularly. And then in the gaps between those, when there's no one live, they play a pre-recorded show, i.e. the value for value. And I've wanted to do this for ages, man. I've had it on my to-do list. Let me just quickly jump here. It's right at the bottom of it because I keep putting it down. But it was, I've written voidzero.net for a chat room because I was like, we should try and get a chat room sometime. There was doing some, what else did I have on here? It was like editing stuff to be able to do a live stream, a continuous live stream, like website type deal as well. A schedule. I've wanted to put a schedule on our front page for ages. If you had this app, I'm sure there'd be a schedule in it saying like, here's when the next live streams are coming up. It's very far away from being anything, but it's kind of like, this is the kind of thing I would definitely play around with and want to use. Whether this be a general trend, once again, podcasting 2.0, Adam and Dave are typically 5 years too early for these sorts of things, 5 to 10 years. But it was one of those things where I found it was very interesting and I would want to try out at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. What was going through my mind is, again, Mere Mortals at home, you tell me, I think about it, send through your thoughts. I don't know where I sit on because I agree, maybe let's say 5 years is the timeline when you need to see that like kind of full-blown working and you'd interact. Again, I'm thinking people that I watch or listen to, Tim Ferriss as an example, if you interacted with something like that and said, yeah, I'm going to go live 9 a.m., blah, I could see myself getting behind like, oh yeah, I'll change some things around. I'll listen to it live. That seems like an interesting thing. But would that change if the ability to create my own podcasts with Tim talking about whatever the hell I want, whatever the topic I want, becomes on demand whenever I want it? AI usage? I don't know which one beats it. Like part of me right now would say, I think the live beats it because it's the actual person and it's connecting. And so maybe it's that gap where how old do you have to be where that actually matters versus doesn't matter anymore if the creation AI is so brutally realistic that you almost can't tell the difference between what's being generated and what you're seeing live. Like, what is the difference? Yeah, I kind of go, my gut tells me, yeah, that could be interesting. And then my head tells me, I feel like it'll quickly get overrun. I
still wonder if people will do that, man. People are lazy.
There's quite a few podcasts out already that are just AI generated.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about me as a listener creating the podcast, even if it's only a paragraph. I want to see Tim Ferriss talking with this guy, and I want it to be centered around these 5 topics, and I want it to be this length. I'm not sure people will do that.
I don't think people would do that. And why wouldn't they do that? Because you generally, when you go and consume a piece of content, you're doing it because it's being posted by the person that you want to listen to. Random different one, Nick Bear on YouTube specifically. I don't know what he's going to post next. I can tell you like a general guidance what he will do, but I will go and watch them for a couple of things. One, the cinematography is like awesome, really good. 2, the topic is fitness and the like, kind of cool. Some of the other stuff I just kind of skip over, but I'm not necessarily expecting or knowing what he's going to post about, but it's generally interesting what he posts about. I kind of see it more on the other end of if the availability of using AI to create whatever you want from it comes from, it is less, although you do have the ability, but it's going to be less you going and looking for it and like being like, oh, I want to see this happen, as opposed to the creator creating what they want and what maybe the learnings or the insights or whatever needs to be, and creating the show for it to be done. So I guess I'll put it this way. If in 5 years, you could either sit down live on the camera and talk about whatever topic for 45 minutes and then interact for 15 minutes with people afterwards. Now, that I'm not saying that interaction, like live interaction, maybe there's like a ridiculous amount of value there for people, because there is, I paid extra money to go see Chris Williamson in person. So
Twitch is a very
talk to
popular
him.
platform.
So there's that. However, if you, and it's not going to be everyone, but if you could, rather than do live for 45 minutes, you could, in 3 minutes, create what looks like a live version of you talking about the exact same topic, delivering it the exact same way. And there's no differentiation between two of them. Is there a part of, well, what's the point of doing?
I don't think people will go for that. I think the draw of the live is exactly this. We received some live boosts just now on.
Okay.
So Chad F, he says, I'm lurking on YouTube. You got me with the clickbait title. Apologies, Chad, I had to. Great discussion about BTC and V4V so far. 1111 sent using Podverse. And then he also just said, just move your sats from Alby to the fountain for the time being. Another 111. Yep. So thank you for that, Chad. Much appreciated.
Much appreciated.
Glad.
But it is this interaction of life that will still. I don't see that. I don't see that aspect being overtaken by AI, because AI is probably going to be doing other things. But there is going to be some inherent value in the actual connection with the other human being that would become valuable. So maybe taking it back, like you said, is there value in the live? Yes, because I think it's gonna go kind of like to the two extremes. Me creating pre-recorded content is going to become less valuable, I'd say, and I'm talking about value, and the value is going to be more on-demand live stuff, or just generated content that I can create for later consumption. And it'll be kind of like either end.
Yeah, sure.
The live would be hyper unique, hyper personalized. You're talking to us and it's a direct individual. And then there's I can now create 200 videos per week, AI generator with my influence. And so it's still coming from me, but it's whatever I want you to see and stuff like that. So it's going to be those two extremes.
Agreed. Yeah, you're not going to be manually sitting and editing shit. It's like it feels like you're sorting through shit at times, especially when I was doing the book reviews and I was cutting out all these things to try and make it as clean and crisp as possible, which I don't do anymore. That felt like just wading through. It was annoying. I didn't enjoy that editing process. So yeah, I was more saying if people are saying this is a live show and it's just a AI thing doing something kind of semi-live, I'm not sure people will be on board with that. I think they'll call that stuff out pretty quickly and be like, no. So yeah, that's kind of on a little sidetrack that we just had there on live, but more live in the future. We talked about that recently. Right. So the final thing I just wanted to talk about was, I guess, our value for value ask that we want to do with people. So podcasting 2.0, the thing they say, it's about protocols and not products. So they're just trying to create a framework so that anyone can jump in and create something, which is how you get behemoths of markets/industries. You know, the App Store is like this. Anyone can create anything on there. There's more restrictions, I guess, now, but it's still, you know, the work is being done by other people to create awesome apps, and Apple and Google are just benefiting it from that. And so we're definitely on the product side of things, where we're creating the content and the show. And so what would we like, and this is getting to, I guess, is V4V about to die on the Mere Mortals? I probably should have included that in the clickbait. Sorry, Chad. Is V4V, what do we want to do going forward? Because we've been doing this for a while now. Been doing it pretty much, not exclusively through the Boostergrams, but here I've created a list of things that we could ask for our audience going forward. And one always likes to ask himself, what are we optimizing for? And so some things, if we're optimizing for money, you know, probably PayPal would be the best suggestion. If we're opting for the ease of receiving money and then being able to call them out and having a community aspect to it, it might be Patreon. If we were to experiment with the cutting edge, it might be Strike, like I was mentioning just before. If we were us optimizing for people to have a useful skill, it could be downloading a wallet and then doing a task with that, i.e. being able to interact with us. If it would be optimizing for community and live access to us, it would probably be joining our Discord. If it was betting on us, we'd probably create a token or an NFT. Yeah. If we were spreading the word of mouth, would be perhaps passing a fact from the show and giving more prompts of like, hey, this is what you could tell someone. You heard it on the Mere Mortals. If it was feedback, like just pure feedback, it would probably be creating a post to say like, hey, we're doing a Q&A, or what's something you'd like to know about this topic that we're going to be covering on the episode tomorrow, that sort of thing. So all of those are kind of value for value in essence, maybe not Patreon as much, but there's a whole lot of things we could optimize for. And so what would you like to do, one? Do we want to still emphasize the boost the most? Do we want to cover our bases with time, talent, and treasure? Would we? Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to answer right now, but something to think about over the next little while. Yep. Because we've been doing value for a while in the terms of boosting in particular. It's going to get slightly harder. You know, Chad, for example, won't be able to do it through Podverse for at least a little bit. What would we like to move in another direction? Would we like to change things up? I still like the overall framework of value for value. That's what has always attracted me to it, was going like, it's kind of like a permission. It's like a release valve. Like, oh, if I'm highlighting that I'm giving value first, then it's okay for me to ask for it afterwards. Because it would have felt weird to me without that framework. and you know, I'm begging, I'm asking for things from my audience. I don't want to do that sort of thing. Whereas now it's like, yeah, no, fuck.
I'm giving you something.
Yeah, it's not that I deserve it, but fucking have a think about this. Push. So that's kind of one of the things. I still would always like to frame it in value for value, but I'm totally willing to change up the ask or highlight different things depending on what we'd like to do together. So just something to think about there.
Yep. We'll leave you pondering with that thought as well, Mere Mortals.
Yeah. If you have a suggestion, reach out to us via any of the mechanisms I just talked about, and because they're all down in the show notes basically. And yeah, hit us up. So value for value. That's your value for value task for this week. Give us a suggestion of what you would like to perhaps interact with. If any of those things sound good to you, like, oh yeah, I would love to have a bit more input to the show. Who was it last week? Someone, not last week, last night, someone was asking me to do an episode on dogs. They'd love to hear an episode on dogs.
On dogs?
Yeah. So we should maybe do an episode on dogs after the next one. Okay. I'm going to write that down right now.
Next one's going to be then psychology of investing, and then we'll do dogs.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. That'll be a fun one. That'll be a different one. It
definitely will be, yeah.
All right. We'll leave it there.
Yep.
For those who have tuned in live, appreciate you. Thank you very much, both in the video and in the audio.
I should just check if there's any live comments on
just check. We'll see if there's any comments. But as Karen just brings that up, again, the overall sentiment is Bitcoin going away? No. Is the value idea going away? No.
Will it still take a while to be... My vision for it is still probably 5 years away. Yeah. I don't want to... I hate saying that because I thought it would be this year. Yeah. I hoped it would be this year, but I think it's going to be a while away. Yeah.
Any comments?
Just Cole in the chat, and then Lucas Branco as well. Yoi! Boys. Cole, Lucas, Chad F, Patricia, thank you for joining us. Much appreciated.
The Italian...
I love this. This live interaction.
The Italian word for guys is ragazzo.
Okay.
Ragazzo.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
He's not sure at all.
One of those two. But guys. With that butchered Italian, we're going to leave it there. Imola, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for being live. One out.
Karen out.
Good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Cole, Lucas, Chad. Much appreciated.
Very good.
What to ponder on?
Lots to ponder on. Oh. Yeah. I don't particularly know where we go in terms of optimizing for it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it always comes back to, I guess, oh shit, I totally forgot to talk about my plans for the future in terms of doing shows. I want to do more in the future, just time is of the essence.
Why is time taking... What time is the time?
Okay, optimizing for girls is taking the priority.
Fair enough.
All right, cheers everyone. Gonna turn it off.